welcome to another episode. Today I have a very special guest that kind of came out of the blue into my life. Someone recommended me one of her books, The Way of Knowingness, and it was amazing. So I reached out to get her on the podcast. She is an author of several books, a spiritual coach, an intuitive coach, and a psychic. This is Kim O'Neill. Kim, I'm so glad to have you.
I am so happy to be here, Nicholas. Thank you for asking me.
So tell me, did I miss anything in how you describe yourself and what you do?
No, I think you did a great job. Great job.
Good. So let's uncover the elephant in the room, right? And I think that's the word psychic, which often gets an interesting rap and a reputation. So let's talk about maybe some easy ways for people to understand it that are like into the spiritual stuff, but they're not quite on that level yet.
Well, and you know, it's interesting. I've done this for 30 years, so I kind of go back and forth on what I call myself. And I know some people who do something similar to what I do, they'll call themselves, well, I'm a spiritual advisor or whatever. And then at the end of the day, it's like, what does that mean? So the word psychic is clear, it's definitive, people know what it is, but in the psychic world, in regard to practitioners, there are many different kinds. So I think people tend to think of the kind that maybe, and no disrespect to anybody, but maybe work out of a trailer with the neon palm in front that says, I solve all problems of life. You know, it only costs $4,000, right? So, and you have to bury something in your backyard. So I don't do anything like that. And a lot of times when people meet me, because I go on the road a lot to conduct workshops and you know, to meet people. And I just finished a 3-year, this wonderful part of my life where I spent traveling all over the US. And because I do phone sessions. And so then when I travel, I get to meet people face to face, which I love. So when I walk in the room, people are sometimes disappointed because they think that maybe I'm going to have a turban or beads.
And a crystal ball, right?
Yes. And I've gone to networking things different times where I've been invited to be the speaker, and people say, so what do you do? You're an attorney, right? No, let me guess, you're a CPA, right? No, you're a dermatologist, right? You're the one they told me. No, actually, I'm the psychic, and they look disappointed. But anyway, it is really interesting how what I found, Nicholas, is that so many people are getting more in tune with their intuitiveness.
Yes.
And it's gut instinct. That's all it is. And people like Richard Branson calls it his most important skill. People like Bill Gates will say, I never make a decision without trusting in my gut. So what I do is help people get more in touch with how they can recognize when their gut is talking to them and when to listen to it, and then how to differentiate between when it's your head or when it's your gut. Because if you make a decision strictly with your head, it's going to be very difficult with your intellect. It'll be very difficult to ever move forward because your head, your intellect wants everything guaranteed. Doesn't want to move forward, take any risks, step out of your comfort zone, but that's the only way we move forward. And so our gut is telling us all the time, giving us signs and messages, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, to try and ease the way forward, to try and point out what we could and should be doing at any given time, which makes things so much simpler. Oh my gosh. So psychic ability is simply, I think it comes from two sources. Number one, your soul, which is always trying to direct you into the kind of life, your best life that you're meant to live. And then your guardian angels, who are there around you all the time, providing information, providing signs. You know, somebody's phone will ring and they'll say, oh, that's Nicholas, I've been waiting to hear from him forever. And they pick up the phone and it's you. And they think, how did I know that? Or somebody will leave their office on a rainy day and they'll have this instinct, I need to take the freeway today rather than, the other way that I typically take. And then they take the freeway, they get home. If they listen to their gut, they'll get home, they'll turn on the news, or they'll, pick up their handheld and, oh my God, there was a big accident and a flooding in the way that they normally took. And then they wonder, so how did I know that? Where did that come from? I know that didn't come from my head. My intellect couldn't have known that. So it's a natural process a natural ability, a skill all of us have that we can build and develop and learn to listen to, so it makes our decision making 1,000 times easier. It allows us to take risks that are appropriate. It allows us to move forward into something that we're scared to death to do, but that we know is right for us. One of my favorite expressions is, you can't be confident about something you haven't done yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we develop this awareness that, oh, I've got a soul and my soul is talking to me, who knew? And I have angels. I think like 75, 80% of people in America, anyway, believe in angels. I think it's that they consider them so separate and apart and so ethereal that they don't think, well, they're around me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I've got guardian angels, but they talk to me. They give me actionable steps, specific actionable steps to take that I can trust in. And perhaps they see a bigger picture that I don't see. And Nicholas, you know how as entrepreneurs, and I know a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs, yes, and they're hard charging and movers and shakers. Well, sometimes you get so caught up in your to-do list and everything you've got to do. And sometimes it feels like either everything is just pending, and that can drive people crazy, or you feel stuck, like, oh my God, my life was moving forward so beautifully, and now what happened? I'm just stuck here. What do I need to do? What coach do I need to find? Or what workshop do I need to attend? Or how do I find out, while I'm still drawing breath in this lifetime, what direction to go in? And it's important to know why things have slowed down. There's always a reason for everything. So what I do in my private sessions and also in my workshops, I help people become more aware of their own incredible ability so they can develop it on their own. I'm a big believer in empowerment and independence. Mm-hmm. And that's how we really can build independence, empowerment, and self-reliance, more so, I think, than anything we could do. Get in touch and start developing an awareness and a trust in our own instincts and judgment without having to ask everybody we know or needing a coach to say, yeah, that's the right thing to do. So.
Yeah, that's very well said. There was a lot that went on there. So for me, an easy way to kind of transition into this world of getting information from other sources, if you will, is that there's just energy all around. And for us to think that we can perceive all that energy, it's crazy because we can't even perceive the full spectrum of light and the full spectrum of sound. So there's definitely some, once we pass from this body, and there's different energies and different planes that are all around us. And if we tune, I always talk about my antenna theory. If we tune our antenna and we ask the right questions and we focus the right way, we tend to get guidance from beyond us. And I think everyone's experienced that, like that little knowingness that you call it, of some action they should take and some coincidence happens. And so to think that we can tap into that regularly, I think most people don't look at it that way, but I've experienced it. And so today I want to talk about how we can do that consistently, right? I think we'll get into that a little bit more. The first thing I want to touch on is like our soul's purpose, right? Because we're always trying to accomplish something, and sometimes we're going against a larger current that we can't see. And so how do we know what our soul's purpose is and where we're going in this life?
Oh, Nicholas, that's a good question. And sometimes we're fighting against all the currents we can see, not alone the ones we can't. And to your statement a moment ago, it's not that we have to study for 10 years to understand how this process works. It's very quick to tune into. For example, we don't have to know exactly how a whole vehicle's engine works to be able to drive, right? We don't have to know how a radio works to be able to listen, or necessarily our computers. We don't even know how a cat purrs. So there are so many things that we accept that we don't know, and yet I think this is the most enlightened time we've ever had on this planet. Mm-hmm. So many people are talking about, oh, everything's so terrible, awful, look. Well, there's always going to be negative things to see, always. So we have to decide as human beings, do we want to, this is so cliche, but do we want to be part of the light? Or do we want to be part of the people who just grouse and complain and everything's so awful and woe is me and, okay. So in regard to the soul, and you had asked what did you ask, Nicholas?
How we know what our soul's purpose is and how we align with it.
Oh, well, our soul's purpose, I call that, there's many parts to our soul's purpose. And what a lot of us focus on, first of all, is life's work. And life's work is the kind of work that we were born to do. And I love that we are all so individual. We're all completely unique with our gifts, talents, and abilities. So how many other people are hosting podcasts right now? Do you have those numbers? How many ever there are? Probably thousands and thousands, but nobody else is going to conduct a podcast like Nicholas Sloan. Nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all are unique like snowflakes. We are all on the earthly plane right now to do two things. We're born to do two things. Number one, to learn and grow and evolve. And the only way we can learn, evolve, and grow is to get life experience and to better understand why certain things are happening and what they're meant to teach us. It's real simple. The other reason we're born is to conduct a life's work that's going to make our heart and soul sing, a life's work that is unique to us, a life's work that is going to allow us to be of service to other people. And one of the things I've noticed in my private practice over the last maybe 10, 15 years is that almost everyone that I channel for these days is keen to find out how they can be of service. They know they're here to be of service. And I'm sure your listeners, they're not only interested in earning money and getting freedom with their schedule so that they don't have to do the 9-to-5 thing. And nothing wrong with 9-to-5. That's great for some folks. But I think these days a lot of folks are interested in finding out how they can have more control over their structure, how they can be more, at the helm of their ship, so that if they want to sleep in, they sleep in and then they work later. If they want to take days off, et cetera, having control over your structure. So the life's work is the kind of work that not only will allow us to contribute to other people in the way that we can, representing our unique gifts, talents, and abilities, but a kind of work that will allow us the schedule we want. Look at people who are in the military and how they love that. That's a very stringent schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. And then there's other folks, I know like me, probably like you, who love our freedom, but we love to work too. And we want to contribute and we want to be stimulated and we want to grow. And so having our own business allows us to also set our own structure. So the way we can find out, to circle back and actually answer your question, the way we can find out what our life's work is, there's I believe, a number of different ways. Number one, we can allow life experience to show us the way. And I think for many of us, we think, hell no, I don't want to wait for that. I want to work that fast forward button, right? People can have hypnosis to find out. Now, what would that mean? Nicholas, if I was going to come to you for hypnosis or anybody else, I love hypnosis. It's amazing. I've used it many times. So if you go for hypnosis, just this is my little thought. Of course, Nicholas is the hypnotist, but I think no matter what we do, if people come to me for a channeled session,
Mm-hmm.
I like them to have goals in mind, so that we start in right away answering their questions. But the question a lot of people have is, what is my life's work? What is that most important part of my purpose? So to answer your question, people can allow life to show them. And if you ask, well, if that's the case, and if life shows everybody, then why isn't everybody in their life's work? Because not everybody is willing to take the risks and to work as hard as it sometimes requires to earn that. We have to earn everything that we have. Things are just not dropped in our lap. So we can allow life to show us. We can go for hypnosis and ask the hypnotist to get information from the soul during the session about Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Why am I in this relationship I'm in? Or why aren't I in a relationship? Why have I outgrown where I'm living? Where else can I move? Those questions, from my perspective, can be answered through hypnosis. People can choose to go for a channeled session where you go to somebody like me and you would have these questions prepared. And I don't speak for anybody but myself, although I just kind of spoke for you, so forgive me. But those questions can be answered very quickly and very easily. So if I was going to do that, how would I do that? When I'm working with someone, I can communicate with their soul, and I can communicate with their guardian angels. And so this is a skill. There are two things that we have. We've got gifts and we've got skills. A gift is something rare and something extraordinary, like whose singing voice do you love? Like an Olympic athlete, like something that not everybody could achieve no matter how hard they try.
Right.
A skill is something all of us can learn how to do. Make scrambled eggs, tune up a car if we wanted, put up wallpaper.
Connect with people is one I always say we can learn how to connect with people, build rapport.
Exactly. Exactly. So channeling, which is a human being's ability to communicate with guardian angels or departed loved ones, is a skill that everybody has. Everybody has gut instincts. Why? Because everybody has a soul and everybody has guardian angels. And so it's logical to imagine, to think, well, if I believe I have a soul and if I believe I have angels, or perhaps I do, maybe, then why would I have them if they weren't going to communicate with me? And why would I have them if I wasn't supposed to learn how to receive information from them? So I can live my best life. That's what they're here helping me with. So it's a skill. So all people have to do is learn the different kinds of ways that angels communicate with us and our soul communicates with us. For example, our soul provides us a ton of information at night when we sleep in the form of dreams. We can dream about past lifetimes. If you subscribe to that, we dream about, some people see themselves already conducting the work they're trying to get into right now. Our soul will share with us what's really going on behind the scenes in certain relationships we have. All that information is right there just waiting for us. It's like our physical bodies are the hardware and the soul is the software. The soul is the essence of us. But at the same time, we've got these angels around us who have names, who are working with us for a very specific reason, who are trying to help us in this period of our life, because our angels come and go, depending on what we need at the time. And they're there to help us know what to do and when to do it. For example, I have this workshop series and I call it Life Changing Day, because I believe every day we wake up, we have all these decisions to make. And they start off really small. Should I hit the snooze button? Should I make latte at home? Should I go get one? Do I take this way to work? What do I do? We have a million different decisions every single day. And sometimes we wonder, I don't know what decision to make. Not about getting a latte, but do I stay in this job? How long? What else should I look for? How can I make more money? What about my health? How can I lose weight? How can I feel really energized? How can I get a better night's sleep? How do I need to eat? What should I do for exercise? Where should I be living? Should I give up this place where I'm living now? But where would I move? So there's a million different decisions we have every single day. And many of these decisions just continue until we figure them out. And so we wonder, how am I going to make these choices? Some of these big ones, what do I do? Who can help me? That's what our angels are for. So they're there for us to say we have an angel, Max. So Max, where should I live? How, and we can, the more we practice this skill that we all have, everybody's intuitive, the more of a rush it's going to be coming to us in, the more we're going to have confidence and faith in our ability to receive the information. And then the more confidence we'll have to step out of our comfort zone, because that's the only way we can move forward into a better life. We don't want to move forward into the same life, right? But a lot of people do that. Yeah. I've done it. Yeah. Before I learned about all this.
So a few things come up. One is the dream journaling, which I started doing a couple of weeks ago, but you talk about it in one of your books as well, and looking for metaphors and patterns in dreams. And I think that's a great way to understand, how to access information in your dreams. Another one is that all of us communicate differently with our angels and guides, right? Some of us use our, in NLP, we talk about the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Some of us hear things, or we know things, or we feel things. So that's how, we all have a different experience in communicating, correct?
Absolutely. We're all unique, I think, in almost everything we do. Absolutely. And Nicholas, you bring up a really good point that, and I talk about this in my workshops, that I caution people not to want or expect their experiences to be like anybody else's. My daughter, who's 19, she's 18, she loves those ghost shows, so so we'll sit and watch those, and she'll say, Mom, okay, I would love for my angels to just materialize. Like, look at those ghosts, and you have a true sense that those people are being, honest, and they're being forthright, that, yeah, this happened to them, and right. So, and I certainly get that feeling when I watch them. So, there's so many different ways that our angels communicate. And once we understand, it's that dialogue that's going on inside my head, I've always thought I was talking to myself, but at the same time, it's been this freaky deaky dialogue. And I will answer myself in a way that I was not expecting. So, wow, that's coming from them. So there's this dialogue going on telepathically, or we might get symbols of things. My dad is departed, and he appears to me literally as a cardinal, red cardinal.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll be talking to my husband. I channel for our family on Sunday morning. So we'll be sitting in the kitchen over coffee, and my husband will say, look out the window. And I look, and there's a cardinal, and he's looking in the window, and it's like, hi, Dad. Sometimes we're with family or friends or colleagues, and we start receiving this knowingness, this information about them that we never thought of or weren't thinking about. And if we share it with them, they'll say, how did you know that? But how did you know that? That's amazing. Well, that's just what I was thinking, or that's what I was trying to figure out, or how do you know that? Not everybody is immediately welcoming.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a matter of being aware of how much our intuitiveness, how much our angels communicate with us. So the soul has within it our blueprint for this lifetime. Why we're here as we are. In other words, male or female, or, a combination, whatever we choose, what our life's work is, why. I believe people chose their parents. Think about that. So if we all choose our parents, why? What did they have to teach us?
So I want to wrap up the previous thing first, and then we'll get into kind of our issues and how parents help us there, because I think that's where a lot of it comes from. You mentioned symbols, and I'm a big believer in symbols. And for me, I get a lot of Native American symbols, and it's just really powerful reminders, and they come kind of from unexpected places. But what I really wanted to talk about right now is, so I believe, and I talk about the internal voice a lot. And I think when you come from a place of fear, that internal voice is your ego, and it's stopping you. And when you have that internal state of faith and certainty, no matter what's going on outside, then you can have that voice of empowerment. Then I think those guides and angels and your intuition really hit you with ways to move forward, and lack of and the hesitation's gone. Based on your state, you access different information, correct?
Excellent point. And you know what I think scares people the most? I think number one, it's the fear that their life is going to stay exactly where it is right now forever. And the second thing is their life is going to change, but then to encourage that change, they're going to have to get out of their existing comfort zone to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two biggest causes of fear. And I think, Nicholas, that what I found, and I have a little story to share on this note. What I found is that when we're struggling the most, when we feel the most hopeless, when we feel like no matter what we do, nothing's going to change, when we look at other people and we see their success and we think, I don't begrudge them, they're successful. What about me?
Mm-hmm.
When is my success ever going to come? And what am I supposed to do? And do I have any gifts, talents, and abilities? I was channeling for someone in the entertainment industry. And this, I never talk about my clients by name ever, but this person is known. And so we're talking by phone. And this person asked me, got real quiet and asked me, Kim, okay, I want you to be really honest with me. I said, of course. And I don't filter, I pass along everything I hear. This person said, do I have any gifts, talents, or abilities? Well, I thought this person was joking because they're known for a particular gift. So I started laughing. And this person got really quiet and I said, oh, are you serious? And this person said, I've outgrown what I'm doing. I want to move into something else. I want to do something different. It's like, oh, of course. Well, you're so gifted that, forgive me. And the person laughed and said, no problem at all. So I think it's at those times when we feel most troubled and upset and hopeless and frustrated that our angels and our soul are just screaming at us to help us. Can I share a really quick story with you?
Of course, that's why we're here.
Okay. Well, and whenever I share names or anything, I always have permission from my clients. Always. Okay. There's this delightful client, and he's in South Africa, and his name is Marco. Young guy in his 20s, amazing guy, gifted, talented, and he wants to be a composer. So we were on the phone and he was saying, Kim, I am so frustrated because nothing is moving forward, and I want to move to the US and I want to, get going with my career. And you said I'm going to be in New York and I'm going to be, creating, stage play, musicals. And I'm just sitting here and I don't even think I have angels. And the class I took, I'm just not picking up anything. And I said to him, Marco, funniest thing, the whole time we're talking, I'm hearing this song inside my head. And the song is, and forgive me, Nicholas, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. But the song was, and I heard this man singing it in my head. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Well, heaven knows anything goes. And I mentioned that to Marco, and he said, oh my God, that's been going on inside my head for the last 2 weeks, like a loop. And he said, that's Cole Porter. And I said, I know. And then I heard Cole Porter talking about the fact that he is one of Marco's guardian angels, and he wanted to let him know he was there. And he thought Marco would connect the dots. Mm-hmm. And Marco was laughing. He said, oh my God, that's been so tangible. Even when I sleep, it's going through my head. It's been driving me crazy. He's been talking to me, and I keep saying, I don't hear anybody. And he keeps talking to me, but he was singing because he was a composer and he sang some of the songs, and I'm a composer. Of course he's going to sing to me. You see? So it's just a matter, Nicholas, of connecting the dots that are all already there. The signs, the clues, the messages, the symbolism, the telepathy, it's all there for us. We just have to learn that it's there, that we can access it, we can interpret it, and it will allow us to move forward. It's really simple.
Yeah. And I find times when I'm really in it and like there's one thing after another and I'm like, whoa, what is going on? And sometimes like I lose my focus or I'm not in it. And so it's interesting because I think we've all had experiences like that. So, like you mentioned earlier, we're here for really two purposes. And what I think is, and what I say is we're here to grow and we're here to give, right? We're here to serve and what, that's living our soul's purpose. And so those are really the two things. And for me, growth, as I define it, is just shedding layers of fear programming and ego. And so I believe, and this kind of ties in with your book, The Way of Knowingness, that we choose our what you call issues and the things that we're going to come to earth to work on and resolve, so we can shed layers of that fear programming, right?
Right. Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about, our issues, how our parents are involved with that, because generally we all have daddy issues and mommy issues, and how we learn to get love from our parents is one of the biggest issues that we overcome in life. So how do we come into earth with that agenda?
Well, we want to grow and learn and evolve on the earthly plane. So when we're choosing these different parts of our destiny, we choose them ourselves, I believe, and we look for parents because they're gonna feature prominently in our lives. So we look for parents who are going to help us with some of our biggest issues. If the soul is going to become a female and she needs to work on independence, empowerment, and self-reliance, and finding her inner, I've never said this before, I guess, but finding her inner balls and be able to, and I'm talking about myself, being able to become self-reliant.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose a dad who was not going to be there. Now, he was there, but he was alcoholic. He used to take my brother and I out on dates with him while my mom was at work. And he had a little gambling issue. So for many years, there were all these, I needed and wanted all these things from a dad that my girlfriends had. And oh my God, I never had. So I finally figured out later after some therapy that, holy cow, he was a perfect dad for me to have. Perfect. Because without him, I would not be this empowered, independent woman you see sitting in front of you. And of course I would have wanted to have been just taken care of and had daddy fix things for me. And he wasn't there. So I had to do it myself, which was awesome. And so we choose the people that we're going to interact with, not only parents, but spouses, partners, siblings, friends, colleagues. We choose all of them at any given time because they're going to be good teachers for us, and we are going to be good teachers for them.
And when you say they're going to help us with our issues, that doesn't mean they're going to hold our hand and walk us step by step through it. Often that means the opposite, right? They're going to help us with our issues by doing something that beats us down in a way that we have to grow and overcome.
Exactly.
And I believe it's all perspective, right? Because we can look at that and say, screw him, he was the worst. Or we can say, wow, look, he was perfect for me to grow into this woman or this man or this person that I needed to be.
Exactly. And to that point, it's important for us to ask ourselves, if we're having a frustrating day because somebody at work is being their nincompoop self, like always, or, had another fight with my partner, we have to ask ourselves, okay, so what am I supposed to learn here? Yes. What is it I'm supposed to learn? We have to ask ourselves, what am I supposed to learn? And then to say to ourselves, sometimes we need to learn, okay, this relationship has gone as far as it's going to go. So the only way I'm going to make my life better is to leave. Sometimes relationships can't be fixed. And that's okay, because we come here to share many different kinds of relationships. And sometimes, we have periods where, we've got friends and then we come to a place and we think, wow, it feels so weird. It's like I've moved to a brand new chapter, and it's like I don't so much need or want to see the same friends anymore so much. Mm-hmm. And our angels will say, you've outgrown them. There's nothing wrong with that. You've outgrown them. You're ready to move on and interact with other people, which doesn't mean we can't have lifelong friends or we can't have close relationships with other people. Of course we can. But the people we tend to have the closest relationships to are people that resonate like we do, people who are similar. So if somebody's here to be a spiritual teacher, they attract spiritual teachers. And most of us are here to be teachers. Mm-hmm. If somebody is excited about moving forward in their life and they want to learn new things and grow and figure out how they can serve other people, which we've been talking about already, but what do? They seek out other people who are already doing that, who are already where kind of they want to be, or who are on their way to where they want to be.
Yes, absolutely. And we definitely attract what we are, and that's what I talk about. Our thought patterns change the vibration in our antenna, and we only see the world as we resonate with it, right? That's what our perceptual filters pick up. So one thing that in your book, like it really hit home for me was that often we're attracted, like we have that magnetic attraction to someone who's going to be a tough situation for us. Like for me, it's been relationships where I'm like this magnetic attraction to someone. And often we end up fighting a lot and it leads to growth, but it's like, how did I make that decision? You know, we beat ourselves up about it, but we have that unavoidable attraction, and that's a spiritual thing, right?
Yes. Oh, Nicholas, I'm so glad you asked about that. This is so confusing. Okay. It's confusing until we understand
You're
it.
excited about this. Yes.
Yes, because, oh my God, so many of us can get confused about how is it possible that when we first meet somebody and you feel a bit of a soul connection, they resonate on your spiritual radar screen and you think, oh, this is destiny. I'm supposed to be with this person. I feel it. I know it. It's like I already know them somehow. And it feels a little bit like we're just picking up where we left off. Whoa. And the other person often feels that way too. And you come together, and then fast forward a week, a month, a year, and you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? I'm miserable, but I don't get it. I knew what I felt. I knew it was part of my destiny. And so why would it splinter? Why would it fall to pieces? Okay, let me explain. Okay, because what our soul's job is, our soul is to guide us toward all the different people and all the different situations we are destined to experience. So the soul does not differentiate between somebody who's going to be a difficult learning experience for us and, say, a romantic soulmate. The soul says, yes, 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 sort of like, when Harry met Sally, that yes, yes. And we feel it loud and clear, and we know what we feel. So we don't stop to ask, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so I'm supposed to interact with this person. Is this person a learning experience for me, or is this person a romantic soulmate? If we ask that question up ahead of time, it makes our life a billion times simpler. A billion. Oh my gosh.
And even that feeling of that connection is like our guides talking to us, or our soul talking to us, right? I mean, and people don't understand that. They don't think about it that way. They think it's just, they don't really, I guess maybe they don't even consider that, but it's a way to push us into something that we need to experience.
Exactly. But we need to be aware of why the soul is prompting that interaction so that it erases the confusion. And I remember when I was single and I was dating, I'd find some guy, really attractive. So I learned the hard way by not asking and then being disappointed or being upset. So I learned, okay, is this, there's some connection here. So is this supposed to be a learning experience, or is he a romantic soulmate, or are we just meant to have fun together? So based on the information that I received, I would know whether, what to wear, to wax or not to wax. Do I wear those clip earrings that kill me, my high heels that kill me? And I know that sounds funny, but it's important to have all the information at hand, I think, before we launch into any new relationship. I mean, look at the military. Do they just launch some kind of, campaign without doing some background research and knowing a little bit about what they're moving into? No. And suddenly I don't know why I'm comparing it to the military, but
dating in war is very similar, right? Maybe that's why.
Right? Yeah, that popped up. Oh, absolutely. Single 10 years.
That's the metaphor that your mind came up with. That's interesting. What does that say about you, Kim?
Right. Maybe did I need more therapy or hypnosis?
Maybe.
So yeah. But we have all of that knowledge is power. And we have all of that information just waiting for us. It's a matter of accessing it and knowing to access it. Just like what we're talking about right now. So when somebody resonates inside of you, to ask, this is awesome. This is great. What will I experience with that person? What is the likely outcome? And how long, will it take? So there we can ask an unlimited number of questions if we want.
I
Let you
love
go.
that. And when you ask with certainty, you come up with an answer, right? Your guides or your brain, like when you ask with that faith and just knowing that the answer is going to come to you, you will find the answer, and you can save a lot of maybe heartache or, misunderstandings from those relationships.
Exactly. And we sometimes, Nicholas, we don't even know what we want to ask. We have the feeling, but we don't know exactly to phrase the question correctly, to even ask our angels or ask our soul. But that doesn't matter either, because our soul, obviously is aware of what our conscious mind is thinking, and our angels know us better than we know ourselves. So often when we're trying to think of how to phrase a question, we'll get the answer. We're getting bombarded with information and answers to questions that we haven't even formulated yet. So it's a matter of trusting that feeling, the sense, the knowing, separate and apart from the intellectual mind.
Perfect segue. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about making decisions, knowing when it's coming from the fear ego space, knowing when it's coming from our soul and our higher selves. How do we ask and put ourselves into the state when we're facing tough decisions or just in our day-to-day life and access that information regularly, like a Bill Gates or a Nikola Tesla or any of these amazing visionaries that had obviously information up from outside of themselves?
There's a couple things that I recommend. A routine, a ritual to kind of go through in the morning.
Yes.
Every morning, to kind of get things jump started after the night of sleep, or whether it's sleeping or tossing and turning. But once you wake up, to get going right away and initiate it. So the first thing that I recommend, these actionable steps. I recommend that people reconnect with themselves. So this takes a second to say, good morning, no matter how hokey that sounds. Good, you're wishing yourself good morning. And then to say to yourself, this is going to be the best day I ever had. Now, some people think, oh my God, I know it's not going to be, and it's going to be awful, and oh, I hate this job, and I've got this, and I've got that. Well, we want to start the day off on a positive note. Positive, because we're creating the quality of life we're going to have that day. So each day is a life-changing day. So do we want today to be more positive than it was? Well, than yesterday was, or the day before? Even those of us that are really kind of more bubbly, happy people, oh, hell yeah, I want today to be better than yesterday. Why wouldn't I? Mm-hmm. So we need to say to ourselves, even if we don't believe it, today is going to be the best day I ever had. So we're starting out, that'll take maybe 20 seconds. Then I recommend, if somebody has the time, and if you don't, I would recommend getting up maybe 10 minutes early and to get like a briefing. I call it a briefing, where you sit with your handheld device or in front of your computer or with a notebook and pen, quiet place, and you ask for signs, you ask for guidance, you ask if you're not in touch with your angels yet, fine. Anybody who's out there, this is what I want. I want direction. I want actionable steps to take to move my life forward. Actionable. And when we ask for things, they come. Mm-hmm. Not always when or in the way that we've asked, but they always come. I think it's also a good idea, and you mentioned this earlier, that we sit down for maybe 5 minutes and jot down what we remember about our dreams, because we'll see patterns, and sometimes we get the answers we're looking for in dreams at night.
Yes. Well, even if you don't believe in angels, just asking that question changes your reticular activating system in your brain to come up with answers. So, you don't even have to believe in this stuff for it to work, right? To ask those questions and say, what are the actionable steps I need today? Your brain will go, this is it. And whether that's from you or somewhere else, it almost doesn't matter, right?
Exactly. And I didn't believe in any of this. I was raised as a Catholic, but I was a recovering Catholic. And I wouldn't, if somebody said you spiritual, I wouldn't have even known what that meant. Mm-hmm. And so I was totally clueless. That's one of my gifts. I'm just teasing. But I have had clueless moments. I think like everybody's so It's no, we don't have to believe in this or believe in that, or be on our spiritual trajectory to have this stuff work. It works no matter what our religion or lack of religion. We can be atheists, regardless of how negative we are, regardless of how clueless we are, or how ill we are, or where we find ourselves. It's always going to work because we always have a soul that wants to talk. Our angels, thank God, never stop talking. Thank goodness. So they talk at night when we're asleep in the form of dreams. They talk all day long. So no, we don't have to have any certain belief structure for this to be successful. Absolutely, you're right. That's my belief. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so we set our day, right? We set our trajectory, I would say it is setting our vibration, our emotional state. And then throughout our day, what are some procedures? Is it checking back in with yourself, asking new questions as the day progresses to make sure you stay on that trajectory of having the best day ever?
That's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. As our day, what I found is that as our day starts taking off, it can be like a fire drill for most people.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and many of us are juggling all these different balls and trying to remain organized. So I think that as we go through the day, to look more at different signs we're getting, like, how did I know that? How did I know that the lunch line would be so long, at Starbucks, and I should have gone to the other place instead? Just to ask ourselves all the different things that we're sensing, feeling, hearing, knowing, checking more, keeping more in track of those things. Those are our signs.
And is that just being present to the process a little bit? Because often we're in our head and we're just rolling, but when we're present, I feel like we notice that more, correct?
Absolutely. That is brilliantly said, to be present. Exactly. And what it means to be present when we're not aware of all the information coming from the soul and our angels, and what it means to be present when we are just a little bit more, all we have to do is take little baby steps, because that's how we move forward in life typically, right? Mm-hmm. Little baby steps. And where we are today in regard to being present is different than where we were a year ago, 5 years ago. Think of how different you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And so being present means something different to us at different times.
Yeah. So we could go all day. And there was one exercise in your book, The Way of Knowingness, that I would highly recommend. Well, I recommended this to like 5 people already, and I just finished it. So I would definitely, if you can pick up this book, it's a great guide to spirituality, and it's simple. And there's really, I've been to a ton of events, and I've done a lot of exercise. There's some really good stuff in here. One is the lesson genealogy, where you write out all the lessons that you've overcome. And there's another one that's similar. That's, I think, the issues that you've grown through, or who you are today versus who you were then, and an issue in your life today that you wouldn't have been able to handle years ago. And so it allows you to see how you've grown, how you've handled things, recognize patterns in your growth. So some very powerful stuff in here. And anything you want to share on those exercises?
Oh, they're very valuable. I promise they're not going to waste anybody's time. It's a way of taking stock, because who you are now is not who you were a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. And we lose track sometimes of our growth. And that's when we start to get a little more self-critical. Mm-hmm. This will never happen. I won't do this. This will, and so as we conduct these exercises, maybe when we feel like we've just finished something really challenging or difficult in our life, that's the time to do an exercise like this. It could take 30 minutes. And in that 30 minutes, you're brought up to speed on where you are now. And it really helps with self-worth and self-esteem and confidence. So by conducting this 20, 30-minute exercise, when you finish with something very difficult, it could be losing a job, it could be losing a friend, it could be a difficult relationship, it could be an illness, it could be, say you've just done something you didn't think you could do career-wise, and it turned out amazing, but now who are you? Every time, not only that we're struggling, but that we have successes, it changes us completely. So that's a time to do the exercise, to be brought up to speed with who you are now, with what you have earned. And I'm a big believer in entitlement. Now, not entitlement like Brené Brown talks about, like it's a bad thing. And we all have our different perspectives.
Sure.
But to me, entitlement means simply what we have earned based on what we've done. We have to earn everything. So, and I want to share with your listeners that information, intuitive information, is already bombarding them. It's just a matter of being a little more sensitive to it, and it will change your life.
Yeah. And so one thing that comes up as you're talking about that is entrepreneurs, we're often looking forward, which is amazing because we're all about growth and new experiences, but we lose perspective of how far we've come. So I remember when I was starting out buying real estate, I would compare myself to people who had 10 properties or 50 properties, and I didn't feel good enough. And then now that I have 60 units, I look at people who have 1,000 units and I don't feel good enough. And so it's a remembrance, and we can look back and see those lessons and how far we've come and give us some of that self-worth and just knowing we're on the right trajectory, right?
And two things about that. Nicholas, do you know the people that will listen to this and say, wow, he's got 60 properties. Are you kidding me? I want to be where he is. Wow. And, as people that are dynamic, proactive, what we tend to do is we tend to forget all about what we've already done. We tend not so much to focus as entirely on everything that's already pending because we're in that mode every single day. But what we tend to do is focus more as we see our lives in the future of all the things we haven't done yet. So if that's what we're focusing on, not everything we've done, all the things that are pending, but everything we haven't done, it forever puts us in this place of feeling not enough, or like we're running up an escalator, moving downward, or why is it I'm so busy? I've worked so hard. I've accomplished things. Why do I still feel like I did back there? That's the reason they're not taking stock. Yes, brilliant point you bring up.
Thank you. Well, it's inspired by you. So, all right, last thing, and then we can start wrapping up. I'm sure you and I could go all day here. I want to talk about just for a moment the idea of past lives. And, for those of us raised Catholic, I'm in the Midwest, so pretty traditional. You're in the South. I'm guessing you spent most of your life there. We get one shot at it, right? You have one life to live, and that's it. You better make the most of it. And that's what we're taught believing in when you study some of the Eastern traditions in Buddhism. And you realize that we have all these opportunities for growth in different phases. It makes sense. And I've become a believer in having multiple lives, right?
Well, and I was born and raised in Chicago. Those are my stomping grounds.
Gotcha. Okay. So not far from me.
Oh, yes, exactly. Oh, I miss pizza. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so, and other things, of course, about Chicago.
Winters, not winters though.
I do actually. I do around the holidays.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I'm in Houston. It's like 70 degrees around. It's like, what is that?
I would trade you in a heartbeat, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will. Okay. So with past lifetimes, because I was a Catholic, that, even to think about that was thought of as sacrilegious. I went to catechism. I went to Loyola, a Catholic college. And so you can just envision what the nuns would have said, or, the priests or whomever. So when I started taking tiny baby steps on my spiritual path, because religion was not answering questions. I had so many questions about, well, but what about this? What about that? And I had a family member say, don't ask. It's the way we've always done it. Shh, don't ask. It's like, but how do you learn if you don't ask? How can you not ask? Don't ask. So anyway, when I got on the spiritual path and I started just considering, an enlightened person, you want to think of yourself as an enlightened person. So that means that you're able to just consider new perspectives, to accept or reject, but to consider them. So when I started learning about past lives, like, oh, is that why some people have the gifts they have? Because of where they've been. Have you heard of that young singer called Angelina? Oh my God, she won Norway's, what is that, somebody has a voice or something.
Got talent or the voice, voice or something like that. Okay.
7 years old, competing with all these adults. Now she's competing for something here in the United States, and now she's 13. You hear her voice and you think, who in God's name were you before?
Even Mozart, right? At 4 years old, he was writing, like people that you don't create that in one lifetime, I don't think.
Exactly. Skills, everybody can develop, everybody has, but gifts. And so we tend to bring our gifts with us from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. Supposedly, Picasso's first word was pencil because he wanted to start drawing. So we tend to pick up as kids where we left off in other lifetimes when it comes to our gifts, talents, and abilities. Catherine Zeta-Jones was saying before she won the Oscar some years ago that her parents would go crazy because she's always singing and always tapping. And her parents would say, would you please? And she's always singing and tapping. And then she goes on to, and we don't always continue with the same gifts that we had before, but past lifetimes help us better understand our relationships. Holy cow. If you're in a relationship with someone who, and you found yourself kind of like a caretaker for this person, this person's an adult, what happened? And then you find out in past lifetimes, oh, this person's been my child, and old habits can die hard. Or you have a child who, one of your kids, or maybe a way younger sibling, and they're always telling you what to do, or they're trying to help you make better decisions, and they'll be looking like this. And then you find out they were a parent in a past lifetime. It can be quite not only awe-inspiring what we discover, but and who we are, and how do we know where we're going unless we know where we've been, right? So.
I'm a big believer in rapport. I teach rapport a lot. I think rapport is at the heart of influence. I teach, how to use body language and language patterns and connect with someone's values. But often we meet people and we have like that click, that instant rapport. Right. And I think sometimes that can be explained by a past life connection possibly, right?
Yes, I would agree with you. And, you bring up a good point, because we can meet people and have that positive rapport. Like, I know you. Oh my God, I know I like you. And I know that I trust you. And I respect you. I just know it. But other times, isn't it interesting when we meet somebody and we're immediately wary and immediately we're a little suspicious and we think, oh, why would I feel that way? But I'm a nice person. Why would I just immediately? And those are negative past lifetimes. Yes. So
I'll do things like, consciously break rapport with them. Like I'll stand in different postures. I'll use different, words, different values than them, just to kind of like keep that distance sometimes when I have that feeling. And one thing to keep in mind, with these past lives is that you don't have to have that urgency, right? It's maybe patience, and everything comes with divine timing, and we're developing the way that we're supposed to, and having the right experiences. And it's, and I think, if there's a loving God or a loving universe looking at how some people live their lives, I just don't think that God would give those people one shot at it. Right. I believe we have many opportunities for growth, and that's kind of what I believe. And
what about the people who die at a month old? Mm-hmm. What about the people who, any of the people that pass away as children, that's their only, stab at the earthly plane. And then when you look at how people pass, that's also very fascinating. So when you start thinking and considering, wow, so maybe all the way that I look, my gender, the family I was born into, my gifts, talents, and abilities that I brought with me into this lifetime, because the soul follows us from every lifetime in just different bodies. So it's fascinating to start considering all these things and to start educating ourselves little by little, maybe reading a book, maybe having hypnosis or going for channeling for oneself, just asking for the information and for it to come in the way that it's supposed to come, can be so horizon widening. Yes. So there's all kinds of arguments in favor of reincarnation.
Yes.
What about that book written by that guy? I just had a client thank me for recommending it. What is it called? It's a book about this little boy, and from the time he was very little, he was talking about, little man can't get out, and he was talking about this military situation, this wartime situation, So he was drawing planes. So he said, my name.
I heard about this story. I haven't read the book.
Yes. My name was James, and his name is James in this lifetime. Interestingly enough, my name is James, and I flew this kind of plane, and he would talk about the plane. And his parents were dumbfounded because he never watched war movies. They never talked about anything like this. And he would have dreams where he would have these nightmares, and I believe that sometimes children's night terrors that pediatricians have now, called, given a name to, because it's so common. I fully believe that children are dreaming about past lifetime trauma. So this young man, I think James Letner, but his parents took him to a therapist, and the therapist said, I think it's past lifetime stuff. He's so specific. He's naming people, and they would look up what he talked about. It happened. There was, historically, it was documented. So then I believe they took him to a hypnotist, and they've written a book about it. And then they also contacted this man's family, who this boy who he thought he was in this past lifetime, contacted this man's sister who was elderly. And she said, what he talks about is absolutely just like my brother. And she gave this little boy all of her brother's things that she still had.
Wow.
I mean, can you imagine having things that belong to you in a past lifetime? But these things are documented and they can be proven. So.
Yeah, and I've heard several stories like that. Well, yeah. you and I could probably go all day back and forth. Right? So we'll start wrapping up. But I definitely, again, want to recommend The Way of Knowingness. Fantastic short read. And then I just got started on how to talk with your angels. And I think I'm a couple chapters in on that. So I'm reading that and really connecting with this stuff lately. And it's a different perspective than kind of the mainstream psychology that I talked about. And hopefully some of the listeners can kind of get a new perspective and a new way to look at things, even if not a full transformation, maybe just little new ideas.
Awesome.
So tell everybody how they can follow you, how they can get we'll provide some of the meditations that you gave me in the show notes, the links for those. So I appreciate that. Anything else that people should know about you or how to get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me. I conduct private sessions. You can reach me at my office. And my website is KimO'NeillPsychic.com. And if I could mention those guided meditations, the reason that I created the guided meditation for sleeping is because so many of us are very hard charging, and when we do make time for sleep, what we want typically is to fall right to sleep. We don't have all of the luxury of the time to toss and turn or to try and do these other things, so that's why I created that, to help people fall asleep right away. And then the other is to help expand intuitive ability. But thank you for mentioning those. So you can reach me at my office through my website, KimO'NeillPsychic.com. And I'm also in the process of creating an online course about the soul, about angels, that I think is going to be fun and fast-paced and mainstream. And I'm a pretty mainstream girl, I think. Yeah.
You are, yes. Good Midwestern sensibilities. I appreciate that about you. So anyway, it's been a pleasure, Kim. I'm so glad we got to go back and forth and share some of these ideas with my audience. And I'm definitely looking forward to working with you or doing something with you in the future. So thanks again.
Fabulous, Nicholas. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I think you're delightful and amazing.
Thank you. My pleasure.